On Wednesday, the Home Secretary will fly from London's South Bank in the first helicopter to be allocated to civil defence. Here are 4 members of the Corps to tell us something of the work they're doing. Mrs. Shirley Lestrange, Mrs. Susan Clark, Peter Burness, and Sidney Richman, BEM.
Will you be present on Wednesday, Mrs. Lestrange?
Yes, I will. And there'll be a Guard of Honour made up of civil defence units.
And what's going to happen? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to play the part of hostess to the Home Secretary. And, of course, I'm hoping to get a ride in our helicopter. I've never been in one before.
What's your job?
I work in the accounts department of a furnishing store, but I'm learning to drive an ambulance for civil defence.
And what do you do, Mr. Burness?
I'm an automobile electrician. I was in the Royal Marines. But now I'm in the headquarters section of the Civil Defence Corps.
What interests you about that side of it?
Well, I think it's the up-to-date equipment that we use. Walkie-talkie radios, gas detector instruments, Geiger counters, and equipment for field cable laying.
And how about you, Mr. Richman?
Well, I'm a bricklayer. I'm in the rescue section.
As I think from the defence medal you were in the last war.
Yes.
And I don't need to ask you if you had any experience of the real thing.
Yes. One thing that stands well out, a pal of mine was digging into the debris, and he could hear a croaking voice saying, mind the baby, mind the baby. And after a little further digging, they found a budgie which he promptly rescued alive.
Alive?
Yes.
You won your decoration for rescue work, didn't you, Mr. Richman?
Yes. I got it for rescuing an old chap of 72, which in some 9 months later I found myself working side by side with on the same site.
He must have been very pleased to see you.
He definitely was.
Now, Mrs. Clark, haven't I seen your face before?
Yes, you may have. I was on a civil defence poster. But
Ah,
I don't think
that's
I've
it.
seen you before.
No, I don't think so. What work are you doing?
I'm a housewife and I do spare time ambulance driving for the civil defence. Before I was married, I drove a small truck around a factory delivering parcels to the various departments. But since I've joined the civil defence, they have taught me to drive an ambulance and passed me out on my driving test.
And I suppose taught first aid as well.
Yes, they taught me first aid too, and it comes in very useful for the neighbours when their children get into trouble. They always call on me.
Does that happen to all of you?
Yes, I've been called by a neighbour to attend a burst pipe. And with the flat flooded and the children paddling, I'm glad to say I managed to fix it.
Doesn't matter what kind of an accident it is. But it sounds as if you all live a pretty strenuous and pretty busy life, Mrs. Lestrange.
Yes, we do. But we have a social side, you know. We have a civil defence club in the centre of London where we hold a dance once a month. And then there's our annual dance which we hold at the county hall. So you can see we have quite a bit of fun also.
I'm sure you do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Clark, Mr. Richman and Mr. Burness. And I hope you get that trip in the helicopter,
Thank you
Mrs.
very
Lestrange.
much.